has been sentenced to 4 years and 2 months in prison. And shout out to NBC News for this, ladies and gentlemen.
Ventura have been through abuse and trauma, and we couldn't imagine a great modern love story, which was something that was said during Mark and Nicola's closing arguments, where he compared Cassie Ventura and Sean Combs' relationship to a great modern love story. And that's where even the jury started laughing at that moment. I was in the courtroom when he said that. So the judge is bringing up multiple instances in which he does not agree with the arguments that Combs' team has made. But again, this is a big blow to the prosecution, Laura, who wanted more than 11 years for Combs.
All right, Chloe, stand by there. I want to go now to Kristen Gibbons-Fetton, a former prosecutor, someone who worked hard to prosecute Bill Cosby. And Kristen, I want to ask you,
Hold on, let me correct it. 2 years, no, 4 years, 2 months in prison, and 5 years probation. Which means if he messed up on the probation, whatever time he has on probation, he's got to do in jail.
He wants to make it clear he doesn't think that this was a great modern love story. How do you think survivors should make sense of the sentence that this judge has just handed down, Kristen?
I think it's complicated, right? For victims, I think this is very complicated. On the one hand, it is validation, as you kind of pointed out. The court rejected the idea that these were consensual relationships. The court explicitly recognized Jane and any others and said that their trauma was real. And I think that acknowledgement matters in ways that can't really be overstated. You know, again, someone who has worked in the field alongside survivors. It is not only just about the number. It is not only about the charges. It's about the recognition. And from this period all the way back to when the conviction was, I'm certain that Cassie and many others in the survivor community felt that their trauma was being somewhat silenced or masked because Cassie knew that it was about force and coercion, but the charges and the convictions didn't really line that up. And by allowing the court in its sentencing to acknowledge that this was no consent, this was not romantic, there was absolute force, and even the enhancement recognizing the coercion and her as a vulnerable victim, and even him as a leader of this organization, allowing that to be stated is just such an acknowledgement that I think is going to be powerful. And I think the other thing that's important here is, yes, it's no victory for the prosecution, right? Because again, they asked for 11 years, they got less than half of that. But again, they got to speak the words of the survivors. This was not a consensual romantic relationship. This was 174 drug-fueled coercive episodes over the course of decades, or a decade at least. And so 4 years may not seem proportionate, but he's not going home today.
Yeah, and
Nope.
going on here, Kristen,
Not going home today.
Public and Sean Combs will never be able to wash them away and will be forever associated with him. Again, these are the judge's words. The judge talking to Jane and Cassie, the survivors, directly saying, you weren't just talking to the jury, you were talking to women who feel powerless. You gave them a voice, you stood up to power. It's not easy. Interesting, the judge taking special care after handing down this 4-year sentence, again, short of what the prosecution had asked for, to take such a great pains to address the people clearly who are listening, not just in that courtroom, but around the world, about whether they should come forward with claims like this. Chris, I want to ask you, this is the criminal case, which is now over. What happens with the civil claims for women who have brought a number of different claims against Combs for acts that the prosecutors had essentially accused him of here?
Yeah, absolutely. The civil claims are still going to be alive, and they are going to be important. Keep in mind, with the criminal cases, the prosecutor has to prove the conduct beyond a reasonable doubt, right? And the fact that he was acquitted of the elements, the sex trafficking regarding the force, the fraud, the coercion, it doesn't mean that that couldn't potentially be proven by a preponderance of the evidence, which is the lower standard, and that's the standard by which the litigators, the plaintiff's attorneys, or the attorneys representing the other survivors will be able to have to prove. And I think that these convictions and this acknowledgement that there was vulnerability, that there was lack of voluntariness by the court in the sentencing, but then also in his words regarding the sentence that he's imposing, I think these are going to be powerful statements and evidence that is going to be used. notwithstanding the fact that all of the evidence that the prosecutors uncovered, both of which was put on as evidence for the trial, and anything else that was precluded from being evidence at trial, will be used by the prosecutors, and that, by the plaintiff's attorneys in representing these survivors. And that is all going to be evidence to show that by a preponderance of the evidence, Diddy engaged in these acts against those plaintiffs. And again, those survivors' words are going to be really bolstered by this sentence, by Cassie, by Jane, and by any of the other survivors who have come forward as well.
I want to bring Misty back into this conversation because, Misty, you and I were sitting together when the verdict came down, and we talked about whether or not it was actually sort of a cautionary tale about the federal prosecutors in the Southern District of New York perhaps overcharging Combs and going for things that were a reach. And I wonder also whether today was a cautionary tale for the defense, putting out that lengthy PR video, trying to paint him in the best light and wash away all of the violence that he's been accused of. And even interestingly, raising this issue of him speaking, giving sort of class and sort of inspirational classes to men who might be interested in sort of his business advice. I wonder if that sort of backfired for them and whether this is a cautionary tale for both sides.
So I think you're right, Laura, and there were certain aspects of the defense presentation that really didn't make too much sense to me, like that video which went back clips of Combs and during times in his career and interfacing with his children. I understand the idea behind it because the whole defense argument relates to a few things. One, that this is a case of somebody who is being targeted. There is a focus on other cases and what those sentences were like in other Mann Act cases, which was by far the best argument for the defense. But in addition to that, there are mitigating factors relating to relationships with family, the fact that his mother is elderly, that he has contributed to the community. But there is a limit to how far that goes, Laura, before it becomes much more hubris than actually motivating the judge to make a decision in their favor. So it was a fine line. The other issue from a defense perspective is that in addition to taking accountability, in addition to remorse, you also always...
He only took accountability because he was caught.
That is pending, that is right around the corner. And there needs to be a thought about whether or not something that's said in court could actually impact that appellate process. So to me, some of this was...
Diddy didn't take accountability because he wanted to. He took accountability because he was caught. What are we talking about, man?
What the lower end of what the probation department recommended, obviously a lot more than what he was looking for. This could have been a lot worse, quite frankly. At 11, it truly could have gone either way. They're before a judge who's not been on the bench very long. There's not a lot of historical data about the way this judge rules in criminal cases. So all in all, he's in a spot that falls on the higher end of the guidelines for the Mann Act without taking into account all those aggravating factors that were presented before the court. So I think there's lessons to be learned on both sides.
Well, that's what's sort of interesting. He's a few months below, actually, where the probation department had recommended the range was, right? So the probation department says somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 7 years, and he comes down to 4. But yet he took such great pains, and obviously you and I are not in court. He took such great pains, according to at least our producers, to lay out all the violence. And I wonder, what do you think sort of tipped the scales in terms of him not going higher?
Well, I think it's twofold. So first of all, the defense had presented a lot of empirical data of other Mann Act cases in federal court, and it's shown many cases, I believe it's about 60, where there had been a downward departure, meaning less than what the guidelines recommend for cases where there were convictions of the Mann Act only. Remember, these judges, especially in federal court, don't work in a vacuum. They're looking at results of similar cases. That's the purpose for the guidelines. That's the purpose for looking at other sentences that have come down in the federal system. So all of that is being taken into consideration. And then, Laura, in addition to identifying what factors are going to be taken into consideration, which was that analysis we heard at the beginning about the guidelines, where this type of case falls, but what other things can matter, like violence, like drug use. the judge is also taking that remorse and rehabilitation aspect into consideration as well.
Misty, always appreciate your analysis and expertise as we walk through all of this. Chloe Malas, you have covered this case from the very beginning. You've watched this judge on the bench. As we mentioned, he was the one who presided over this trial. I wonder what you make of this today, and just taking a step back, whether you think the Combs team will appeal this. The judge has sort of come down in the middle, if anything, gone more onto the side of where Combs wanted to be. Do you think they sort of take this and say, you know what, he'll continue to do his classes behind bars, but you're not going to appeal this?
You know, Laura, one of his attorneys who's really taken the lead at recent hearings is Alexandra Shapiro. She's a very well-known appellate lawyer, and I believe, based on my reporting, that he will likely try to appeal this because, again, his team really wanted time served. Even had speaking engagements set up for next week with a reentry program to speak to those who had served time, and these were these business classes that he started at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center. So I believe that he really thought he was going to go free, and I think he will keep fighting for his freedom. And I just wanted to also tell you that it is a very different day, a different mood outside of the courthouse today than it was a few months ago, the day of the verdict. It's much more subdued, Laura.
Chloe Malas outside the courthouse there. Appreciate your coverage throughout this trial. We're going to continue our coverage on NBC News Now, and of course on NBCNews.com, and of course on Nightly News with Tom Yamas tonight. I'm Laura Jarrett. We're going to go to break now, and then Hallie Jackson is up next.
If you're living with HIV, imagine being good to go without daily HIV pills.
Okay, let's go with
Good
something
to go
else.
off the grid.
Let's go to AV to the 7th power.
That we have our eyes on is the Courtney Clenny case. I don't know if you remember that. It's the OnlyFans girl, the white girl that threw a knife at her boyfriend. He was a black man, and he was killed. He died. Her trial is starting on December 1st. So leading up to that, I'll do my regular Tuesday, Thursday legal news, the Power Hours. We're here for Power Hours. And when that trial starts, we will be live streaming every single day. So that is the next one. You remember A$AP Rocky and A$AP Relly? That civil case is scheduled for January, but I heard that Relly was having a hard time retaining counsel for that case. So we'll see what happens. Okay, almost done with the super chats. Almost done. Shout out to Drew Beats with the 5. Says if he's guilty of charges, the man acts up. Why didn't the judge bring any of that up in his closing statements? It's really slow in Vegas. Great time to visit. Yes, Vegas this time of the year is amazing. I went there for my birthday like 2-3 years ago. During this time, it was great. I always have a great time down there, and October is really nice in Vegas, so definitely we'll check it out. Thank you, Drew Beats. Yes, see, the thing is a little bit choppy, like, you know, because we're doing this all on Twitter. I don't know if the judge talked about that. Let me just scroll up because I don't miss anything. Okay. Because the thing is with this guy, because it's all on the timeline.
Damn die.
Let me go back to see if we have any of that. What happens with Twitter, you see this, Drew, is like people's comments get in the thread and then you lose where you are. That's why I kind of don't like doing it like this. But let me just keep scrolling to see if the judge did say anything about the charges. Or reporters that have been typing away, man. But stenographers have to do every single day. It's a lot. Okay, 2 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour. Showing more replies. Sorry, y'all. Myself right now. That's all Diddy stuff. Yeah, see, it lost our place. It stopped at 46 minutes ago. So, Drew, I'll send you a DM or something. Like, I think you're on my Instagram, so I'll find it and, let you guys know. Even if you're watching this on replay, we'll put it in the comments below. But appreciate the super chat. Also says, I hope Puff stopped paying at least. I hope so. And then, I was sharing news with y'all all day. Yesterday, somebody buzzed Cosby came in with 2 more civil lawsuits against Diddy. It just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. Okay, I think I am all set with super chats. Okay, my lovely people, it is now time for AV to get some R&R, okay? This has been fun. Really want to thank you guys for all of the support, all the people that donated super chats. I think it's like 60 of you guys. Really appreciate you. Thank you from Texas, Whitney, your stream sponsor. Whitney, thank you so much for sponsoring today's stream. It really means so much to me. I'm really looking forward to Dallas. And yeah. Nature Self-Study also supported super hard today. It was good to see everybody. The next one will be on Sunday for the birthday stream, and then we are back Tuesday noon for regular, legal content. All right, I'm going to bed. I love you guys. Stay safe out there. See you in the next one. Bye.
Okay, and that's it for AV. Let's see who else we can find. Let's go CBS News.
Love an extra challenge? Well, the new Prey system coming to World of Warcraft Midnight is for you. Prey is an opt-in adventure where you work for...
Allowable would be up to 20 years. Now, that would be extremely unusual. The federal prosecutors here are asking for about half of that, and the defense, fairly predictably, is saying he's already been in prison for now 13 months, and so he should essentially get time served. We see this a lot when it comes to big sentencing, where you see the prosecutors asking for something closer to kind of the midline or closer to the maximum. Here is the midline, and the defense saying, basically, we want nothing at all, that he should be out at the very least for the holidays.
So, Jessica, a former stylist for Combs is suing over alleged sexual abuse and violence. Can any of the evidence used in the federal trial be used in this lawsuit?
Yes, and that is not unusual as well. So as long as when it comes to a civil suit that all of the evidentiary rules would indicate that that's evidence that could come in, that is a fairly typical situation, because generally speaking, the government has a lot more investigators and resources that they can put on a case, particularly a criminal case like this, than you might in a civil suit. So in a civil suit, a lot of times you see evidence that was first introduced in a criminal case or that was obtained in a criminal case, and then it's introduced in a civil case, where obviously all the rules are different, the burden of proof is different, the evidentiary rules are different, and obviously the end remedy that you can get is different. You're not asking for time in prison, you're generally asking for money.
And we are standing by waiting for that breaking news out of Manhattan on the sentencing of Sean Diddy Combs for these prostitution-related charges. Jessica Levinson, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, in this week's 48 Hours, a wife calls 911 to report her husband is missing. Police find his lifeless body in his car in a parking garage.
I thought they was going to give us a Diddy update. Never mind. Let's go Law and Crime.
Cheers.
See what Law and Crime talking about.
Like 5 blocks that way.
Sir.
Okay, they stand by for press conferences. Let me mute this. A lot going on. Let's go, Nick, at night.
I'm saying give him 11. So that
Go ahead,
he
Nick.
can, split it down the middle and get closer to the probation. We're saying 11 because we feel like he deserves 11 years. And they said that they feel like his violence and the abuse and all that is why it was warranted. Now, the defense basically swung back because they were describing him as a PIMP, and he was basically saying that he is not a PIMP. He is not a person who is making money from the girls in that regard. And they said that that was a mischaracterization of what he had going on and that he had a unique circumstance. They also stated that all of the other cases where there were PIMPs, they were making a substantial amount of money. And these cases, they were making upwards of $1.4 million. They had previous offenses and so much more. And this is Diddy's first offense. And so they said even in those cases where they had previous offenses, they were making a lot of money. they were trafficking immigrants and all of those things. Their sentencing range was like 28 months, 18 months, and 12 months. So Diddy's defense team basically argued that anything above that would be excessive, and it would definitely be a disparate, like a huge contrast from what the actual other crimes and other people convicted of the Mann Act have gotten. Now, in addition to that, they wanted to say that, let me see. They said that the case that they used, the prosecution that they used, they said that it was basically an overreach. They said that the case that he used, they left out the fact that the guy had a previous offense and all that. They said that even a guy who had an encounter with a 14-year-old girl, he had went into a brothel. He had got offered a 14-year-old girl. He even photographed the encounter and videoed the encounter. He was a 64-year-old man, and he only got like 12 months for that. So they said that's like a stark contrast, 11 years to the other people creating these offenses that are far more heinous according to them and getting less time. Now, make sure you guys are hitting the like because we're going to go over all of the details. So they also argued that most of the cases, they said that Diddy did not, use his power. They said like the average sentence was 28 months across the board. They said that they basically said that they feel like he should have less time. So let's move on from that. And let's get to, okay, so his attorney, Nicole Westmoreland, she boo-hoo cried up there. She was crying, talking about how excellent he was for the black community, how he was the first person to have a clothing design. He was the first person to have all of these different endeavors and give opportunities to black people, and how impactful he was to the community, how he had these public schools that he was giving back and so much more. And the whole time that she was crying, the whole time that she was saying all of these things, she was crying and she was boo-hooing. And she said that she had went to one of his speaking engagements 8 years ago when she was still a lawyer. And she said she was so moved by his words that it changed her life forever. And then she just started crying and crying and crying. Now, for me, her tears, it just seemed performative to me. It didn't really feel genuine. It just felt kind of like over the top and like I said in my other live, like a Tubi thing. And Nicole Westmoreland is an awesome lawyer. Like, she is an awesome lawyer, and I've seen her litigate the YSL trial. I've seen her litigate this trial. But that particular moment when she was pleading to the court, I was like, girl, we don't believe you. This is crazy. She said that he has helped break systemic racism. She said that he has inspired minorities to vote. She said that when Diddy went around telling young people to vote, she said that he changed the way that people do voting campaigns till this day. And she said he inspired her when he gave advice. And she was saying all of this while she was crying. She said that she's never going to forget when he said, put actions behind you, put actions behind your dreams. If you don't say that, changed her life. Or what did he say? Hold on. Oh, okay. This is what he said. Sorry, I had to read my handwriting. It's a little scribble scratch. Okay, so she said the words that changed her life was him telling them Listen, everyone, don't be afraid to dream.
Some
But
boom. And this is Nika at night.
something, and then she just started like sobbing and crying and saying that just totally changed her life forever. She said he is a human being. He is just a man that made mistakes like all of us. He helped countless lives. She said, it would be right to take. It wouldn't be right to take that to take that from him because he made a mistake. So she was basically like crying and sobbing, and she was saying like it wouldn't be right to take like all of the good that he did and turn that into this like prison sentence for a measly mistake. And then she was just crying, crying, crying. And then she said, somewhere along the way, he lost his journey. He has been sitting in a cell for 13 months. He is drug-free. He is remorseful. She said, and you know how I know he's a changed man? She said, I talk to him every single day. And so I know he's a changed man, and I can be accountable and letting you know that he's a changed man, Your Honor. You know, because I talked to him, and I know. It was over the top. It was like really over the top. And then she said, he has done good while he's been in prison. He wanted to help others that lacked education. That's how he came up with free game with Diddy. He taught a 6-week course. They all had to agree to be peaceful. So she said he went around the jail, and they were all of these different minorities and all of these different people, and you know they were all segregated in the court in the jail by race and all of these things, and none of them were together. And Diddy was so brave, and he went to all these people and he told them about this course, and they all came together. All of these different people from these different walks of life, they came together, and all because of his course. So it was a performance show. And so she was saying all of that while she was crying. And she said the staff at MDC sat through the class, and they've been monitoring the class, and they said that it was excellent and that the inmates are learning new skills. So after that, they wanted to have his kids address the court. Now, when his children addressed the court, it was sad. Now, that was touching. His girls were breaking down crying. His sons were crying. He was crying. His lawyers were crying. They were all crying. And so the first person that got up to spoke was Quincy. Now, Quincy is Kim Porter's son that she has with I'll Be Sure, that P. Diddy basically like took under his wing as his own son. So he got up to speak first since he's the oldest. And he said that he wanted to thank the judge for reading his letter. He wanted to thank the judge for taking the time to hear them out and to speak. He said that he's the oldest son of Diddy, no matter what, no matter about him being his biological father or not. He said that he has been able to see his dad change. And then he said that he evolved week after week. He said that he feels as though Diddy has completely changed. And he said, as his children, we thank you. So then the next child that came up was Justin Combs. And he said, I am Diddy's firstborn son. I'm the firstborn of Sean Combs. I ask that you give my father a second chance. My father is our superhero, and he said that he believes in God and never questioned it. He said that this saved his father's life. So he was basically saying like his father was on a path, and this very moment helped save his father's life. And then after he spoke, Christian Combs spoke up. Now Christian Combs is the one that looks like him, and so Christian says, I'm my father's third son. I am the one people say most resembles my pops, but not just because of the looks, but from the mannerisms. He said, I studied my dad throughout my life. I studied him. And he said, he taught me how to respect women and how to treat women. He said, people and be a good person all his life. He travels every week to speak to him for 2 hours. He said that he is a better man. That he said, and then after he said that, he started crying. And then he said that, oh, girls over here yelling. He said that he noticed that his dad is more relaxed, more patient, and then from watching him, he said that, he learned a lot. He said that he wanted the judge to give his family grace and to please give his family mercy. All right. Now, I think the family is about to come out. All of their cars is right here. Hold on, let me show you guys. These are the Diddy's black trucks for his family. So they're lined up right now so that they can go pick the family up. So these are the cars. So they're gonna make their way through the crowd, and then his family is gonna come out. It's a lot of noise over there, like even more noise than where I am. So unfortunately, I'm not gonna go over there because it's too much over there. But anyway, I hate that like this side is fake pearl and this side is just like a mess. So anyways, all right. So who was next? All right. So the next one of his kids that talked.
They about have a press conference in a few minutes, y'all.
Jesse Combs got up there, and immediately
when the press conference happens, I'm gonna mute this and go to the press conference.
And so when Jesse got up there, she said, "Hi, I'm 18 years old," and then immediately after she said her age, she started to break down, crying. Like she immediately started sobbing and crying, and then her oh, you want to take a picture? All right. My shirt is all messed up. But anyway, so she immediately started crying. She said, everybody has had their own views of her dad. She said he made mistakes, but he is our dad. And then this whole time she was talking like she was sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. She said that he made mistakes, and she said that when their mom died, he was all that she had, and that and then she started crying some more and like uncontrollably crying. So then people in the gallery inside, they were crying, and so they started to pass out tissues to everybody that was in there crying and stuff like that. And so after she got done on the stand, then the daughter Chance got up to speak. Chance said, "We are daughters who need our father." He speaks with a clear mind. He's more patient, more thoughtful. He wants to do better for himself and for us. I can see the difference in how he parents our 2-year-old sister from jail. She said that, and then once she said that, she started to break down crying, and she was sobbing uncontrollably too. So then Delilah Combs, which is the other twin, she started talking, and she said, we are scared of the thought of not having our dad and our mom not in our life. She said we can't see our baby sister grow up fatherless. She knows how it, she was basically saying that, I'm trying to scribble travel, but she was basically saying that they know what it's like to be without a parent. They lost their mom. So they don't want their baby sister to have that void of not having a parent and having somebody grow up with a void that they can't fill. And they don't want that for their baby sister, and they want him out so that he can be a father to her like he was to them. And they said that they can tell that the way that he parents is a lot different now that he's sober. And from watching him the jail, they're saying that they noticed the big difference in how he was with them and how delicate he is with her now that he is incarcerated. And I'm thinking, well, he in jail, but whatever. So, anyways, so there was that. So they said that they don't want to lose more and more time without their father, and they want to be able to heal. Who's these people? I'm trying to be nosy. Who's giving these cards? Anyways, okay, so um, all right. So after his kids spoke, then they played a video. So they pre like made a video that they played for the court, and so after that they played the video.
Okay, we
Now
got
the
we got
video
a
that
press
they played
conference,
in
y'all.
court
Hold on.
before the court happened.
Sorry, Nick. Uh, oh, I ain't got it. I ain't got the sound right.
For what he did, he could have
Come on,
had
Gloria.
10 years for each of the two counts of violation of the Mann Act,
And this
which
and
is
this is salon crime, by the way.
going across state lines for the purpose of prostitution. So I think all in all, he gave the sentence that was recommended by the probation office. And so that's somewhere in between what the prosecution wanted and what the defense wanted. So um, it's finally over, except that there will be appeal, of course, by Mr. Combs' very large field team. And so we'll see what happens on appeal. Yeah, the argument was by the defense that that really this was just watching sex, and so that's free speech. But the judge did not agree to that argument. It wasn't about filming. He said you can't launder an illegal act into a constitutional right, because that would otherwise be a very narrow interpretation of the Mann Act. So it was about committing a crime, because he pointed out that Mr. Combs had in fact participated and sometimes had sexual interaction with Jane and also with Cassie. So it wasn't just about watching, he actually participated in it. So I think he's got a good argument, and I don't think that the defense has a good argument on appeal. So he could have gotten 20 years, 10 years consecutively for each count, and now he has 148 months for a sentence. Many of my clients were very concerned that he might walk free by the end of this year, time served, and then a couple more months. And they were very much afraid that he would retaliate against them. And so I think that they will be happy that he will be at least in prison.
When we need help, kindness steps in. When we need hope, kindness steps up.
All right.
Anybody else gonna talk? Or was it just Gloria? Okay. That was just Gloria already. Let me change change this, and go back to Nick at Night.
The Harvard and homeless people. So he said basically he gave opportunities to people in the hood and people from Harvard, but it was basically about how your work ethic was, like how hard of a worker you were, and that's basically what matters. You said my mic went off again. My mic is on. What you talking about? You said it's a rat behind me. I'm not about to play with y'all. If it is, I don't see it. So, moving on. All right. So, he said that they have to boil water in the facility before it's usable. He said that he grew up without a father, and he swore that he would be there for his children. He said that especially when Kim Porter passed away, this would be more trauma to his family.
Which I still think Diddy had something to do with that.
And he gave up opportunities to people. He said that he is a human being, and he's trying to make sure.
So was Cassie. Cassie was a human being. What are we talking about?
Oh, thank you for the super chat. Take the totality of the person. His businesses are gone. Sean Combs' brand had prestige. He is a fighter for civil liberty and equality, and he can connect to the young and old. The prestige of his brand and the prestige of his name is already gone. So he's basically saying, like, listen, he already has a tarnished brand, a tarnished name. He doesn't have his businesses. He doesn't have the same fame or notoriety that he had before. His thing has been shut down. And then he says that he has the ability to connect to young and old people. He said that he has even cursed his family name. So the name that he passed down to his children is now cursed. He said that people who he gave opportunities to even want to remove that they worked for him off of their resume. Can you? I am in public, but you just got your phone just staring at me like.
You're in New York, ain't you gonna run into a weirdo?
We gonna record each other. He said. No, I know. I'm just trolling you. It's all good. All right. So, what's your platform? Okay. Hey, y'all over there on Kick. How are you? My name is Neek. I am Neek at Night over on YouTube. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, all right. You said turn my volume up. Is it low? Is the volume low? Okay, the volume is good. All right, so let's get back to it. So, he said that, he said even people who work for him are shamed. So he was like, listen, he doesn't have prestige in his brand. He doesn't have his businesses anymore. He doesn't have his notoriety that he used to have. Like, everybody looks at him like a disgrace. And he said that he has shaped, he helped raise millions to give it to public schools in the inner city. And he said his money is not the same no more. He said that he has thousands of lawsuits, most are frivolous. He said the prosecutor said the sentence should send a message to the community or to the victims. I don't know who would want to change places with Sean Combs. Some of the media call him a disgrace, and he is a great man. He is completely broken. No one needs to give him speeches. No one needs to tell him to take responsibility. He was punished himself. He has punished himself more than anyone. He heart and knows that he is remorseful. Everyone has said the same thing. Off the rugs, he is a different person. Even in this broken state, all he thinks about is family. That jail is built for hopelessness and for people to die. Okay, so he said, jail ain't a place for rehabilitation. It's basically a place for people to die. Okay? And he said that, oh, this one he get into the Crips and the Bloods, y'all. So he said, there were constant fights. There were Crips and Bloods. And he said, inside, so this is when they get to talking about the inside of the prison again, right? So now, first Nicole Westmoreland was talking about how he brought all the different people together. Now Brian Steele is talking about it as well. So he says there were Crips and Bloods, and he went to each one, and now they are living together, and they have common interests. Now they all laugh together. And there has been no fight since Diddy has done his free game course. They said that one of the guys, Charles Drugs, he was incarcerated with Diddy, and he said that he'll tell you firsthand what it was like. He is, I guess he was waiting via phone. So he basically said Diddy brought the Crips and the Bloods together ever since he went and had a conversation with all of them, and now they all kumbaya and are peaceful. And there hasn't been not one fight since he implemented his free game. They said that they want the guy Charles Struggs, who did a bid with Diddy, to speak. I feel like all right. So he said that. He said that the court can use Diddy. He said that if you think it's appropriate to allow him to get counseling and therapy. Oh, and then he went into talking about how Diddy already had a speaking engagement scheduled for next week. So the prosecution, they basically said the audacity of Diddy to already feel like he about to get out, and he already booked a speaking engagement in Miami for next week. So Brian Steele basically replied to that and basically responded to them talking about that. And he said October 6th is not a speaking engagement. Other people realize that he is different. He can go to any community. Let me tell you about thinking you are above the law. It's not a speaking engagement. It's a healing. So he said that. Oh, hey, Terry, can I talk to you? Hey, y'all. Okay, so I'm going to pause, y'all. This is Terry. She is a lawyer, and she has sat through every day of the trial. And I think you predicted that he would get about this time, right?
I did. I don't know how good it is to predict things because you're not always right. But I actually, at the end of the day, when both sides are a little disappointed, you know you made the right decision. So the judge said that pre-sentence investigative report was spot on. And he looked at that recommendation, the minimum by the probation department, PSR was 5 years and 10 months. The maximum was 7 years and 3 months. The judge came back a little bit less than that. And so that's a good sign for Diddy. You know, obviously the prosecution was asking for 11 years and 3 months, and the defense was asking for 14 months. neither one of those, the judge said, was reasonable because the prosecution did not take into account the mitigating factors, and the defense did not take into account the aggravating factors. So he really basically just looked at the probation department's PSR, went by that, went a little less, and I frankly think it is a reasonable result.
Yeah. What was the tension like in the room? You were inside the courtroom. I was in the overflow room.
I was not only inside the courtroom, for whatever reason, several of us were able to go into the jury box, and I was in seat number 1.
I seen people's feet in the jury box. I thought that was the sketch artist. That was you guys. Okay.
That was my feet.
Oh, okay.
I have never.
The camera angle, we can see into the
Jury box.
Anyways, go ahead.
So
We just can't see faces, but go ahead.
exactly. So honestly, this is the closest view I've ever had. The attorneys, when they made their arguments, were standing literally as close as you are right now. Because as I said, I was in seat number 1, and I could see Sean Combs. I could see his reaction when the children came up to speak. Oh my gosh, they were crying, and I was literally sitting right there. Everything they said impacted me. I've got to say, I'm supposed to be.
It was
It was hard. It was very emotional. I'm supposed to be objective as a journalist, as a lawyer, but it got to me. I had to pull out a tissue because it was that difficult. Because they personalized it. You know, you understood how hard it was for them to be without their dad. They were without their mom, him who passed away, and so they told the judge the impact. One thing I really liked about Judge Shabarian, he talks to everyone. So he made it very clear that he greatly appreciated what the kids had to say. And he also spoke to Cassie and Jane as the victim, saying that it was very important that they came forward, that they made a difference as far as women coming forward is concerned. But at the end, he also spoke to Sean Combs and said, I hope that you can take this. I know you must be in a difficult place right now, but, you know, I hope you continue to do what you're doing in terms of teaching and giving back to the community. So I love the way he addressed all of the parties and made sure that they all understood why he gave the sentence that he gave. It had to be serious. It had to take into account deterrence. It had to take into account the public and making sure that the public is safe. So
and the impact on his family, how it would impact them.
correct, all of those factors. And I actually think he came out right, or right around. And I
Okay, they're still looking for more press conferences.
So 4.2, and then he'll get time served, and that's a year, and he'll get, if he continues to have good behavior, there's the 85-15% rule where he'll get a 15% reduction. So that's a few months, whatever that is. And so, you know, it's 4.2, but really 3.2, and then a little less than that because of good behavior, as long as he continues to have good behavior. So it's reasonable. It's a serious offense.
Yeah.
I know they wanted a lot less, but
What did you think about how emotional it was for Nicole?
mixed feelings. She personalized it. I'm being lawyer-like.
She's being political because I thought it was a mess. But go ahead.
I was literally right next to her. There weren't tears flowing, but
So there was no tears because I just kept hearing.
yes, she was sniffling. Okay. So there's a lot of sniffling. But I think it was a wet sniffle, if I might tell your audience, meaning that she was choked up. It didn't come out the eyes, but it was, I had those.
Because I couldn't see it, like, you know, in the overflow, you can't see, like, the tears running down, but she was like,
The children,
it just seemed performative.
the children, tears all over the place. They have to blow their nose and dry their eyes. I would say for Nicole, it was a little bit performative, but she did get choked up. I think that the little bit of choking up was real. She made it too personal, though. You're not supposed to, as the lawyer, relate back to your own experience. She related back to her, you know.
Talking to him every day.
Yes, and she said that, you know, she saw him speak once, and that had an impact on her, and, you know, and then she got choked up. So, I don't think the judge thought
Yeah,
about it.
I was like, girl,
Yeah, girl.
what are you doing?
Girl.
such a strong and assertive lawyer. So when she did it, to me, it didn't feel genuine. It felt, I on my other live, I said it felt like she was doing like a Tubi reenactment. It was it was like so over the top to me.
Here's the other thing, it just kept going on and on and on. It wasn't just a short emotional choke out. It just kept going on. And I was like, pull it together now. You know, maybe you got a little choked up, but you're the lawyer here, so you gotta pull it together. So, I mean, I got a little choked up with the kids, and I literally pulled myself together because I was like, okay, I'm the journalist, I'm the lawyer, I'm not supposed to be like crying over here when the kids are giving their, you know, recitation. And I knew I was so close to them, I was worried that somebody would see me. So I pulled I didn't have any tears, nor did I have any you know, snot. I pulled myself together, but
I love Terry, y'all.
I'm letting you know, I didn't have to like, but I did have to pull together. But anyway, so
Tell people how, what were you gonna say? You actually
no, I was gonna say it's so good to see you out here.
It's good to see you too, Terry. It's such a pleasure to talk to you all the time.
That's why I stopped. They can always reach me on Terry D. Austin, TERRID Austin, at Terry D. Austin, on all the socials, pretty much.
Okay. So, Terry Austin, what network are you
I'm everywhere, but today I was on News Nation and also on Reuters. So, you know, I go wherever they call.
Where the money reside, where the money reside. Well, I thank you so much. Yes, I appreciate you. Yes, I love you too. Thank you, Terry. Thank you so much. I love Terry, y'all. She's so down to earth. Like, when I was here from during the trial, like, Terry was like that mama bear that was just looking out for everybody because there was a lot going on in the line. This was when I was like actually like showing up in the morning trying to get in the main courtroom. So there was like 1 week where I was getting into the main courtroom every day. So I had to show up at like 5 in the morning. 5 in the morning, the crazies are out. It was a lot going on. And Terry was like so sweet. She was so sweet. So I love Terry. She used to be on Law and Crime, but now she be going around. So anyway, back to where we were. So yeah, so Brian Steele was basically talking about how there's nobody who has punished themselves more than Diddy. The prosecution was basically saying that he's not accountable. He hasn't really taken accountability at all. And Brian Steele was saying, listen, he has suffered and he punishes himself a lot. He's not the same. His businesses have went down. All of these things. He said that he is a broken man and he is remorseful and he's off. And being that he's off the Holly, are you speaking? No. You're like no. You look beautiful though. Thank you. You said, oh, I don't know what y'all said. All right. So, he said that off of the drugs, he is a different person. He says even in this broken state, all he thinks about is his family, and that jail is built for hopelessness. And oh wait, did I already read that part? Y'all, why y'all didn't tell me I already said that part? All right. So, oh, okay. So he went on to ask the court to use him as y'all said. Let me see the fit. I don't know how to show y'all my outfit, but I don't know if how to show y'all my outfit. But I got on blue slacks and stuff. All right. So now he said that Brian's still basically pleading with the court to use him for the good. Okay. So he said that if he gets the opportunity, he can be able to like make an impact in the community, speak out, and be like a vessel to be positive for people. And then he said that he has been through a healing. Somebody by the name of Dr. Kruger and Kaplan have evaluated him and they tested him and they see that you you have to treat the trauma. The Department of Justice cannot treat him. So they're basically saying, listen, he needs to go into treatment. Like, being in jail is not treatment. He needs to go into treatment. And they said that he said the community can use Sean, use him as a tool so that others don't sit in this seat. And if he does anything out of bounds, we will drag him right before your court and he will be revoked. Prosecutors tell the court they made a finding that his escapades were coerced. He said, consider the following from Cassie. She agreed to his freak offs because it made him happy. She didn't want to say no to freak offs because she didn't want him to regret sharing this vulnerable side with her. She enjoyed time spent with him during the freak off and felt close to him. She wanted to be around him because it made her happy and it was special time that she cherished. She didn't want him to find someone else to do it with. And when you really care about somebody, you don't want to disappoint them. Oh, hi, how are you? Oh, you can come take it right here. Yeah, go ahead, girl. Oh, yeah, hi. Hi, guys. Yeah. Sorry, y'all. We gotta give us some type of, give us a hug. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. Give us something. Were you inside? No, I was out here. Okay, what you think of the 50 months? I think there's no justice here. Diddy has done a lot. I'm sorry, I know we're going based off of the crimes today, but not enough. What were you thinking more closer to the 11 years? I would hope for that. I figured it was gonna be this, to be honest, but it's Diddy and he has good lawyers, so I'm not really surprised. But justice for day 26, justice for everybody who he's ripped off, owes money, and all this type of stuff. You know, it's not real justice. I'm from New York, and we know what's up. So, shout out to Nick though. You look cute. Reporter. Thank you. All right, bye. Yeah, thank you. Armand, you leaving? Oh, I don't know. Well, okay, so you better say hi real quick. He over here trying to act,
No, because it's gonna get real cloudy out here. You know, like, that old fat bitch. She already comes to talk to me. I'm like, girl, if you don't get so fat, dirty ass on my face.
Ooh.
This lady over here already, they just like, girl, do they see a camera? They just trying to do too much. Like, what's cool?
Huh? I'm live, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's very cloudy out here. I'm still in here.
All right, well, just say hi to people. What you think of, did you see Nicole Westmoreland?
Yeah, that was a bad.
Well, yeah, just what did you think about Nicole? Because I've been telling him that was crazy.
That was a mess. She put on a performance, okay? She went and cried. It was the moment when she had said, he was giving a speech, and he said, don't ever stop drinking. Just don't forget to wake up. And that right there changed my life.
I looked up at the thing. I said, girl, really? Are we doing this today?
Yes, girl. So anyway, yeah, so the call was woman, she put again. But I will say this though. I believe that Diddy, I think the 4 years is cool. And
Oh, and that's that Armand guy. I didn't know who the hell that was.
was great.
Yeah, I think he did a good speech, and I think it felt genuine.
It felt genuine. I believed it. I believed him.
Yeah, I believed him way over Nicole. Nicole, I was like,
but I did cry.
with Nicole?
With Christian and
Oh, the kids. Oh, okay.
not all the kids. Quincy could make me cry. When he would have been able to speak on the night like that, because he had attitude. He comes too aggressive. Justin was just kind of like, okay, I just gotta say something. But Christian, you could tell loves his dad. He's like probably the most loved kid out of everybody, the boys. I feel like he's connected to the family the most. The other ones, the two guys, I don't know, they energy off. But and then the girls, they had I cried. I cried.
They were sad. It was sad for them.
Did you cry?
I didn't cry for the girls though, but it was sad.
Yeah.
I didn't cry for the girls, but it was sad. Everybody. No. I got more choked up when Diddy talked than the girls. Cause I felt like I think I predicted that the girls were gonna do that though. I knew that they were gonna cry. So it was like I don't know. So it was different. I didn't expect Diddy's speech to like. I'm like, okay, well he really seemed like he really like I'm fighting for my life, Judge.
Yeah, he was. He honestly was.
Yeah. He was given like one of those. This is my last bat. This is my last swing. This is my fight.
But he said I would never hit another person in my life again. I'm kind of gassed.
You thought he was lying?
I think he might have changed though, but I don't know because I just feel like the judge was like, all right, since the jury didn't get it right, I'm gonna get this mother right. That's what happened.
Yeah. So.
All right, boo.
All right.
I'm gonna see you on the other side.
Peace
Drink
out.
some tonight.
I don't meet y'all. All right. So, let me get back to where I was at. So, let me give myself some lip gloss real quick. Hold on, y'all. One second, y'all. 1 second. I feel like my lips is starting to get dry. 1 second. 1 second. Okay, I had to give myself some lip gloss. All right, so Brian was basically saying that he can be a better fit for the community out of the jail than he is inside the jail. All right, so then they had some guy by the name of Reverend Kerry Johnson. And so he spoke and he said that he is the president of King Clergy. He said his heart is turmoil to see his brother in this condition. He said that he got a call from people saying that they would basically pay for him to come. He was kind of like giving like a church sermon type of deal. And he was saying that he feels like Diddy can be redeemed and have redemption. Then his attorney, Donaldson, spoke, and he was basically reiterating what his colleagues had said about feeling like the sentence was closer to 14 months. And then he said that it's not lip service to grieve, engagement after the sentencing, So then they had some guy by the name of Giovanni Saras speak, and he spoke for a long time. They said, we're going to let him talk for a minute or 2 minutes, and he got there. I'm like, has it been an hour yet? Because I thought this was going to be 1 minute, 2 minutes. He was talking for a long time. And he was just like reiterating that he was out of prison, he was reformed, he was basically a new person, and all of that. Then Agnifilo, he spoke, and he basically said that DV comes from childhood trauma, and he said that Diddy has psychological challenges. He has PTSD, and his father was murdered when he was a baby, and he felt like that all contributed to like his behavior. All right. So then the prosecution basically responded after that, and they said that he used violence and threats to trap people into years of abuse, and they started to read like impact statements, and basically wrote a statement where somebody said that they wanted to like delete themselves and all kind of different stuff. So then after Agnifilo, like, he basically, like, rushed his speech because the guy before them that was only supposed to speak for a minute or two, he spoke for, like, a long time. So Agnifilo kind of, like, rushed through his to not, like, you know, belabor, like, some of the points and to, like, get on. like in between, he had like some papers that he had written down, and he had like gathered his papers up, and then he stood up and addressed the court. And so Diddy said, I want to thank you for giving me a chance to speak up for myself. Hardest thing was having to be quiet. I want to personally apologize again to Cassie Ventura. Emotionally and physically, I don't take that lightly. I want to apologize to her family and apologize to Jane. I'm sorry for bringing you into my mess. I want to apologize to victims of DV. I know that video triggered them. My actions were disgusting and shameful. I was sick from the rugs. I needed help. But I can make no excuse because I knew better. My mother raised me better. I got lost in my journey of life. I'm trying my best. Like I said, I'm trying my best. What else? Okay, so he said, oh, he said the actions were disgusting and shameful. I was sick from the rug. I needed help, but I can make no excuse because I knew better. My mother raised me better. I got lost in my journey of life. I'm trying my best. I got lost in my ego. Because of my decisions, I lost my freedom. I lost the opportunity to be there for my children and mother and he said he lost the opportunity to be there for his children and his mother. He lost businesses. He lost self-respect. He said he's humbled and broken to his core. He said, I hate myself right now. So this,
I was waiting on the rest of these press conferences. I'm not even going to wait for these press conferences because I've been waiting on these people for a damn hour.
His kids directly. And he says, sorry children. And then he started to cry. Hold on, wait till this pass is loud. Okay, so he turns around to his children. He starts to get choked up. And then he says, sorry to children. Sorry to y'all. Y'all deserve better. And then he turned to his mom and he started crying. And then he said, Mommy, I failed you as a son. I'm sorry. To whom so much is given, so much is expected. He wanted to be a shining example of what we could be. What we could do. He said, I got lost in my mission. I'm not this bad person. I'm someone to my community. No, he said, I'm sorry to my community for letting y'all down. Given a chance, people can change.
I'm gonna come out to Nick at night.
Sometimes you have to go through experiences. He knows that
I won't come out to Nick at night. I didn't even know that Natalie Lawyer Chick made a quick clip. Let's listen to that about the Diddy case.
Okay, I'm waiting to see if anyone's in the chat. This is unexpected, so. Hey, Amber. Hey, we're gonna get started here. Hi, Sabrina. Nice to see you. Hi, Eileen, AU, Yamik, Marie. I'm clearly still in my office, but I wanted to come to you guys. We have breaking news that Sean P. Diddy Combs has been sentenced to 50 months in prison, which is a bit over 4.7 years. Let me do the exact math here. So 50 months in prison. And also, I'm gonna close my office door. 1 second. It's after business hours and I'm still here. So I figured I would do this instead of getting on the road. Give me 1 second. Okay. Hi, guys. Yep, 4 years and 2 months. Thank you very much for doing that math for me. So, I don't know if you guys saw, but today I did upload a video in which I read and analyzed Diddy's, uh, um, I don't really know how to characterize it, but his letter of allocution to the court requesting that he receive, leniency because he's basically changed his ways. So essentially, Diddy has received this amount of time. He's going to get credit for time served. He's been in for about 14 months. So he's really going to, from here on out, serve probably like an additional 2.5 years, something like that. So let me just pull up the latest article on it. Give me 1 second. Okay, so let's see, where do we want to go? Let's go with CNN just because they have the breaking news. So according to CNN, Justin, Sean Diddy Combs has been sentenced to 50 months in prison for his conviction on 2 counts of transportation to engage in. Combs speaks. He addressed the court earlier and begged the judge for mercy, calling his actions disgusting, shameful, and sick. Combs apologized to the victims and all the victims of domestic violence. Describing his decision, Judge Arun Subramanian. Now, I just want to say, according to the sentencing guidelines, the Department of Probation, they recommended that Diddy receive 5 to 7 years. And his attorneys were asking for time served, so only 14 months with credit for time served. And the prosecution was asking for 11 years. So the court is kind of making a decision here, a balancing decision. Do I give him time served, which is under the guidelines? Do I give him 11 years, which is over the guidelines, or do I go within the guidelines? Usually the court goes within the guidelines, but here the court went slightly under the guidelines because even with credit for time served, 4 years and 2 months is basically under the guidelines of 5 to 7 years. But this is what Judge Arun Subramanian, thank you Kareem Harper for the super chat. I really appreciate you. He wasn't crying before, during, nor after his horrible crimes. No use in him crying now. He has to do the time. Describing his decision, Judge Arun Subramanian said a substantial sentence must be given to send a message to abusers and victims alike that abuse against women is met with real accountability. In final remarks to Combs, the judge noted Combs will still have a life after prison, noting there is a light at the end of the tunnel. I do want to say that federal prison is not easy. This is not club fed. So this is not what Martha Stewart dealt with when she was doing insider trading, and she went to prison all those years ago. White collar crimes and violent crimes are classified and treated differently within the prison system. And as you heard in Diddy's letter, the sentencing jail that he's been held at for the past 14 months, the conditions are it's not just Diddy's word for it, but then the conditions are notoriously poor in that institution. Now, the prison is not much better. Federal prison is very, very difficult time. And there is difficulty with getting parole in federal prison. A lot of federal prisoners, you can get out on parole, but a lot of federal prisoners end up serving a lot more of their time than what you serve in the state system. It's why many of us prefer for our clients to stay in the state system so that they can have the opportunity of an earlier release. So it's not like he's gonna get off easy on this. He's gonna be serving this time unless for some reason his case is overturned on appeal. So what are you guys thinking about the amount of time that he received? Sarah Reddy says, I don't think it's enough time, but I'm also not surprised. Okay, tell me why you don't think that it's enough time. Let's look at what the AP News says. I find the Associated Press to be a bit more unbiased, although the CNN's reporting didn't have really any tint or flavor to it or anything like that. It kind of just reported what happened. But let me see if they can give us a bit more information, Associated Press. So, according to the Associated Press, Sean Diddy Combs was sentenced to Friday to 4 years and 2 months in prison for transporting people across state lines for sexual encounters. Oh, they put that perfectly. Maybe they know that YouTubers are going to read this, and we're trying to keep with the terms of service. Capping a sordid federal case that featured harrowing testimony and ended in a forceful reckoning for one of the most popular figures in hip hop. Combs, 55, was also fined $500,000, which is chump change to him. Since Combs has served a year in jail already, 14 months actually, the sentence means he would be released in about 3 years. Yes. His lawyers wanted him freed immediately. And I do think that there are a certain segment of people that thought that Diddy was going to be freed immediately.
No,
I don't
they ain't no way they was
I
gonna
don't
let
know
him
why
out
they thought that.
today.
But there,
Ain't no
I
way in the
because he
hell.
wasn't convicted of RICO, he wasn't convicted of racketeering. People thought, oh, it's no big deal. He just has, you know, sexual encounter convictions, and that's no big deal. Not in the federal system. Trafficking people across state lines, or you traveling in order to traffic people across state lines, is a big deal in the federal system. It's not a nothing burger. And I think when people say, "Oh, that's not enough time," I get that. Federal prison is not easy time, right? I think because we all saw him beating Cassie on video, you want to see real retribution, but it's not easy time. Avalon says, I think since he received under the guidelines, he got off easy, and $500,000 is a joke for Diddy. I think that's fair enough. I think his sentence should have been within the guidelines, and I think towards the higher end of the guidelines in order to send a message. Now, I don't think federal time is easy at all, and I never like to discount any time in prison, but I really think that he needs to do hard time because he's gotten away with it for so long, harming people, trafficking people, beating and abusing people, women especially. So I do think that a message needs to be sent to him, and I think the top of the guidelines would have been more fair. But I also think that the judge is giving him some amount of credit for his lower criminal history as well as his words and his sentencing packet. You have to remember that Diddy has very high powered, very skilled attorneys who are good at making arguments. We've seen his attorneys in court before in other cases. I believe Brian Steele was one of the attorneys in this case.
Yeah, he was young Thug's lawyer, Brian Steele.
Diddy was convicted in July of flying his girlfriends and male workers around the country to engage in a drug-fueled sexual encounter, a practice that happened over many years. However, he was acquitted of trafficking and racketeering charges that could have put him behind bars for life. And I think that's what a lot of people wanted. They wanted Diddy to go away for life. Why did it happen for so long, says U.S. District Judge Arun Subramanian asked as he handed down the sentence. Because you had the power and the resources to keep it going, and because you weren't caught. I wonder then why he did not give him the top of the guidelines instead of like a notch under the guidelines. The guidelines were 5, and he gave him 4. I'm really wondering about that. Combs showed no visible change of emotion as he learned his sentence, sitting in his chair and looking straight ahead as the judge spoke. He remained subdued afterward and appeared dejected. And that's what I'm saying. He's not getting off easy, but he's not getting as harsh as what other people would want him to get. And I think that we need to consider the fact that he is going to go and sit down in prison. I think he had his hopes up. I think for some reason, he also thought, and again, because I think that Diddy drinks his own Kool-Aid, essentially.
Be right back.
That by starting a nonprofit, or not nonprofit, that's not the right way to say it. I'm looking at my NPR cup, and that's what made me say nonprofit. But starting a like a men's group for improvement that he started in the prison to give guidance to the other men on the unit at their request. That's interesting, and I give him credit for that. But also, it doesn't discount what was done. And I think the fact that he went so long without any consequences, and so many people knew that this was happening. I mean, we, the general public, did it, but pretty much everyone that knew him in Hollywood knew that this was going on, and he went without any type of accountability for so long. I think means that his sentence necessarily should have been longer. I think it should have. I don't think the judge should have gone over the guidelines. Because I think it's the government's fault that they did not secure the RICO conviction, because I think the biggest mistake that they made was only indicting Diddy and not indicting anyone else else in Bad Boy. I think if they had done that, they would have been able to build a RICO, but you need an organization to prove a RICO. I really think that, right? So the judge can't make up for the fact that it was a not as great prosecution, but what he could have done was make up for the fact that Diddy got away with it for so long by giving him the top of the guidelines. Hi, Emery. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you. So he appeared dejected with none of the enthusiasm and smiles that accompanied his interactions with lawyers and his family earlier in the day. So again, I think this is my personal reading. I wasn't there, but if he was smiling before, earlier in the day, he was expecting to get out. He was getting high on his own supply. You know, he was thinking that my efforts and all of these letters from all of these people, that's going to get me out of here, right? That's going to get me released. And I don't think so. I don't think so. I agree. I think it should be for longer as well. I don't think over the guidelines, but I think top of the guidelines. In a final word before sentencing, Combs told the judge his years of behavior were disgusting and shameful. He apologized to the people he hurt physically and mentally. He said his acts of domestic violence were a burden he would have to carry for the rest of his life. This is very similar to what was in his letter. Check out the video that I recently put up with like a few minutes ago going through the letter. His defense lawyer played an 11-minute video in court portraying Combs' family life, career, and philanthropy. At one point during the video, Combs put a hand on his face and began to cry. His nearly 2-month trial in federal court in Manhattan featured testimony from women who said Combs beat, threatened, assaulted, and blackmailed them. Prosecutor Christy Slavic told the judge that sparing Combs serious prison time would excuse years of violence. I would have to agree with that. I think that if he had gotten time served, it would have almost felt like what he did to Cassie was okay. What he did to his other victims was okay. What he did to Kid Cudi was okay. I think he needed to get prison time, but I also think it needed to be more. Probably not as much as what some of you would have wanted, because I think some people want life for him. I don't want life, but I do think that 7 years, which would have been the top of the guidelines, would have been appropriate.
Yeah, 8 years would have been
It's a case about a man who
appropriate.
did horrible things to real people to satisfy his own
I'm back,
gratification,
y'all.
she said. This is the prosecutor. He didn't need the money. His currency was control. Combs was convicted under the Mann Act, M-A-N-N Act, which bans transferring people across state lines for prostitution. Defense attorney Jason Driscoll argued the law was misapplied. Several of Combs' children pleaded with him for leniency. So they pled to the judge, please give the father leniency. He has 7 children altogether, just so you know. His daughters Chance and Delilah cried as they spoke. I'm really sad that they spoke in court for their dad, not because I don't think that they should support their father, that's their father, right? But because that is their only parent, and they are pretty young. I think they're college age, maybe like 19, 20. I think they just had high school prom recently, because I think I saw last year or earlier this year pictures of them at prom with their boyfriends. They're twins. And I think it's Chance. I don't know if Chance is the twin. No, that's wrong. Delilah and Jesse are twins, if I remember correctly. And Chance is a child that he had the same time that he had the twins. So he had a baby outside of Kim Porter with another woman, and Chance is that baby, I think. So one of the twins and Chance cried as they spoke in his defense. They love their father, you know, and I'm not going to fault children, because I don't care if they're 21. To me, they're children, you know, they're old enough to be my children. But I'm not going to fault children for speaking up for their dad. But I think as a parent, I wouldn't want my children to speak up for me, because that's not their responsibility. And that's not a level of trauma that I want them to experience. Them sitting in the courtroom maybe to support me, but I wouldn't want them to go through that. And that makes me really sad. And especially with Delilah, and the article is saying it here, Delilah and Jesse, their mother, Kim Porter, died in 2018. And so Sean Diddy is their only father. Is their only parent. They have no other parent other than him. And so, of course, they want to see him get out. He has an 84-year-old mother. He has a very enmeshed relationship with his mother. Of course, he wants to see her outside of prison, still alive. But she's 84. Maybe she won't be when he gets out, you know? And then that's a mitigating factor. The devastation that his life is going to have because he's going to be doing hard time in federal prison. Delilah says, please, Your Honor, please. Give our family the chance to heal together, to rebuild, to change, to move forward, not as a headline, but as human beings. Outside the courthouse, journalists and onlookers swarmed the sidewalks as TV crews stood in a long row across the street, echoing scenes from Combs' trial. During testimony at the trial, former girlfriend Cassandra Ventura told jurors that Combs ordered her to have disgusting sex with strangers hundreds of times during their decade-long relationship. Jurors saw a video of him dragging and beating her in Los Angeles after one such multi-day freak-off. Another woman, identified as Jane, testified she was pressured into sex with male workers during drug-fueled hotel nights, while Combs watched and sometimes filmed. The only accuser scheduled to speak Friday, a former assistant known as Mia, withdrew after defense objections. She has accused Combs of in 2010 and asked the judge for a sentence that reflects the ongoing danger my abuser poses. Prosecutors also introduced testimony at the trial about other alleged violence. One of Cassie's friends said Combs dangled her from a 17th floor balcony. Rapper Kid Cudi said Combs broke into his home after learning he was dating Cassie. In a letter to the judge Thursday, Combs wrote, "The old me died in jail and a new version of me was reborn." Cassie, in her own letter, described him as an abuser who will always be the same cruel, power-hungry, and manipulative man that he is. I'm going to give Cassie the last word as far as the statements from people is concerned. And if you guys are interested, we can go through each of the letters that were covered or that were submitted, both from the prosecution and the defense. The prosecution seeking 11 years, the defense seeking 14 months, and the judge ultimately coming out at 4 years and 2 months. And, you know, it's my opinion that it wasn't enough time, that the judge wasn't too far off the mark, that it should have been 7 years. It should have been 3 more. It should have been 7 years. That's my opinion, personally. But I want to know what you guys think. Honestly, like, do you think that 4 years and 2 months was enough time? Too much time? Do you think he should have gotten more? How much time do you think he should have gotten in your ideal sentencing for Diddy? What do you think about the RICO prosecution being the vehicle through which he was prosecuted? You know, I was really thinking, I get it. The statute of limitations had run in many states for the places that he had committed the crime, and really there was really not much else other than the federal system. But I think there was a way to make a RICO prosecution against him, but they needed to go after Bad Boy, the organization, and the people that work for the organization with Diddy at the head of it, because people did things at his behest that were criminal in nature in order to further the goals of the organization. But then I also think, was the organization really what Diddy was doing all these things for? No, it was to further his own personal, lust, avarice, greed, and addictions. And in that case, is that really what RICO is for? I really wonder about that. Yeah, Rosanna says not enough, and that she agrees with 7. Napoleon says 4 years is insane and not enough time.
Yeah, he
Adria
should at
says,
least got 8.
I'm sorry, it says it's not enough at all, and Adria is also a member. SJ says their heart breaks for Cassie. So does mine. So does mine. I really feel for Cassie. Sorry, I'm trying to be careful with where I place my camera. And Tammy says, I believe that Cassie should have filed charges on him years ago. He would have been in prison and wouldn't have done a lot of things. I think that's fair and true, but we also have to realize that a lot of the reasons that the laws are changing around SA, post-American movement, is because a lot of women are afraid to come forward after SA. It's just the truth. They're really, really afraid to. And it's understandable why. There's a lot of stigma there and also power dynamics at play. Robbie thinks we failed as a society for not stopping this earlier. I think that could be true. And Kay does, since that's not what RICO is, what would you suggest being charged? I think he should have been charged earlier, as someone said before. Something in the local system. So, state crime. In the state system, he probably would have received more time if that video had been released sooner. But Diddy bought the video. We got to remember that Diddy also paid off witnesses and discarded evidence and bribed people to try and stay out of trouble. And he got away with it for a really, really long time. Had he not been so good with covering his tracks, he probably would have been put away for a much longer time, longer ago. Jackie thinks he got off easy. Chrissy says the biggest frustration is victims that the criminal justice system didn't protect at the time. I'm going to leave it with Chrissy. And I need to go home. So I'm going to talk to you guys. Yeah, I'm 40 minutes over work.
Could we use your house?
I'll see y'all later. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.